Well, hello, Science 10s. Today we're going to be talking about mechanical energy. Now, I know you already know what is potential energy. That's stored energy due to the position, like gravitational, or you're stretching it like an elastic band, or found in chemicals. So, potential energy, we know that. We also know what kinetic energy is. That's the energy due to motion. So then what is this mechanical energy? Well, mechanical energy is kinetic plus potential. They're added up. It's the energy due to motion and position. So kinetic energy, motion of an object, plus the potential energy, the stored energy that that object has. So of course, this formula is also found in your data booklet. We can look to our data booklet. Now here it is. Yeah, so it's a little different. It says EP plus EK. It doesn't matter if you write it EP plus EK or EK plus EP. Either way, it's you're adding them both together, right? Potential plus kinetic or kinetic plus potential. Okay, so when we are doing these questions, as we always do, we need to write out our formula, substitute in our values with units, do our calculations, do our math on our calculator, show our final answer with sig digs, units, rounding, scientific notation. So here's an example problem, and we've got ourselves a baseball. Here's the mass of the baseball. It's 0.300 kilograms. It's going in a straight line through the air at this height. So we know the height, and we're given height in meters, and we're given the speed of the object, and we're looking for the total mechanical energy. So remember, we know that EK is 1/2 mv squared. So we have the mass and we have the speed. We can find the EK. We also know that EP is mgh. Again, these are both in your data booklet. We know the mass, we know the height. What's G again? Well, guys, we're on Earth. The force of gravity, or the acceleration due to gravity, that's in our data booklet. That on Earth is always 9.81 meters per second squared. If you weren't on Earth, you're on Mars or somewhere, you'd be given that value. But this is in your data booklet, or maybe you have it memorized by now. So we've got our formula. EM, mechanical energy, is kinetic plus potential. If you want to write it EP plus EK, it doesn't matter the order. Do I know what EK is? I sure do. It's 1/2 mv squared. So I'm going to substitute that in. Do I know what potential energy is? I sure do. It's mgh. So I have everything, guys. I've got the mass, I have the height, I have the speed, and I know G. I can easily calculate EM. This is a plug and chug. So I've got 1/2 times the mass of the baseball, 0.300 kilograms, times the speed. Remember, guys, this is kinetic energy. I said it's so important to remember that it's V squared. So don't forget to square that on your calculator. So you can do this separately. You can calculate what EK is and find an answer for that in joules or in kilograms meters per second. And then you can calculate EP. And what is that value in kilograms meters per second squared or in joules? And then you could add them together, or you can do it all in one big step on your calculator. Doesn't matter to me. Whatever you prefer, you should get the exact same answer. So now we know mgh, we have mass, we have gravity, acceleration, and we have the height of the baseball. So plug it into your calculator, do the math, don't forget to square the speed, and then your final answer, add those both up together, and we're going to have 1, 2, 3 sig digs, 1, 2, 3 sig digs, 1, 2, 3 sig digs, 1, 2, 3 sig digs. Guess what? 3 sig digs in our final answer, and it's energy, right? It's mechanical energy. It's just a type of energy, and so the units are in joules. Okay, so doing these questions are same steps as I have just been pounding into your guys' heads, right? Is formula, substitution, calculations, final answer. So write down what all is known. Okay, here's a question. We know the speed of the object. We know the mass of the object. It's in grams. Got to make a conversion. 300 grams Well, I'm going to have to convert. Remember, what do I know about kilograms and grams? What fact do I know? Well, 1 kilogram has 1,000 grams. So my mass in kilograms, can't write grams, you have to write in kilograms, is 0.300 kgs. So we have the speed, we have the mass, and we've got the height above the ground, also in 3 sig digs, and I'm asked for the total mechanical energy. So EM, mechanical energy, is EP, potential, plus kinetic. I don't care what order you write those in, but you write out your formula. So what is potential energy? Well, it's mgh. Do you know the mass? Yes, you've been given here the mass. You have to convert it. Do you know G? Yeah, that's gravity. You should all know that. If you don't, you look it up in your data booklet. 9.81 meters per second squared. Got that. Next up, do we know the height? We sure do. All right, so you can calculate EP. Now, how do we calculate EK? Well, look up the formula in your data booklet, or you know it already because you just did this booklet. It's 1/2 mv squared. Do we know what the V is? We sure do. Do we know what the mass is? We sure do. But don't forget to square it. So we have V is 8 meters per second. Of course, V squared on your calculator is 8.00 squared. And meters per second squared is going to give us units of meters squared per second squared. Mass is in kilograms. We should all know that kilograms, meters squared per second squared, is simply a joule. Okay, so we're going to get a joules value here and a joules value there. We're going to add it up, and that's how we get our mechanical energy. We add them up together. Okay, what about the next question? Well, same thing is we are going to write out the formula, substitute in our values, plug all our units in, do our math, do our final answer. So this is a little bit different. It's not a straight plug and chug. You're actually asked to find gravitational potential energy. EP is what we're trying to find in this question. So we have the mass. Oh, good. No conversions needed there. It's already in kilograms. We have the total mechanical energy given to us. 3 times 10 to the 3 joules. And we also know the speed of the object. So let's write down our formula. EM, mechanical energy, is EK plus EP. So we are trying to solve for EP. So let's rearrange. We want only EP on this side of the equation. So now look at what's happening here. This is not a multiplying one. I'm adding. What is the opposite operation of adding? That's right, it's subtraction. So I'm going to cancel out EK by minusing, subtracting, taking it away from that side. And that means I'm going to take it away off this side as well. So we'll cancel out there, and we're going to have EM minus EK is equal to EP. So I can solve for EP. I rearranged to solve for that. Mechanical energy, I know I've been given this value in the question. Now, how do I solve for EK? Well, I look up in my data booklet. It's 1/2 mv squared. I know the mass. I know the speed. Remember, it's speed squared. So it's 1/2 55.0 kilograms, not 5.50. That'd be a pretty tiny little athlete. Okay, times V squared, 8.33 meters per second. Don't forget to square that puppy. That is your X squared button on your calculator. Okay, and then now that you have that, you take your EM minus that, and that gives you your EP. Okay, easy peasy. Check your units at your final answer, sig digs, rounding. So remember, it's potential energy, so it'll be in joules. In this question, we're calculating kinetic energy, not potential energy. So same thing, EM is equal to EK plus EP. So we're not looking for EP, we're looking for EK. So how do I get rid of EP off this side of the formula? I have a plus. What's the opposite of adding or plussing? I'm going to subtract off EP. That would cancel it out off that side. And then I'm going to minus or subtract it from that side. And what do I have? I have EM minus EP is going to give me EK. So we have a mass of a hammer, and we have the height of the hammer, and we have the mechanical energy, so I know this. How do I find EP? Well, I don't use the formula. Sorry, I go mgh. So I have the mass, I have the height. Oh no, what's G? Well, you guys know that. You know that G, the acceleration due to gravity, is 9.81 meters per second squared. So you know all those things. So you can solve it separately, or you can do it all in one step on your calculator. Doesn't matter to me, as long as you're doing all these steps. And your final answer, because it's kinetic energy you're solving, will have joules. How many sig digs? Well, let's see, there's 3 there, 3 there, 3 there. Final answer, 3 sig digs and in joules. Okay, so go ahead, practice those out. This is your little guideline of how to do them. And you check your answers. They are posted on Google Classroom. Alrighty, have at her.